My freedom is over. Your life is over. It's the end of an era of freedom, capitalism, and moving forward. I would be willing to bet, maybe not in my lifetime, but soon after, there's going to be another revolution in this country for sure, because people aren't going to take this anymore. This is getting well out of hand when you strip people of their capital, you strip them of their money, you strip them of their opportunity to become true capitalists, to be the next Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. Okay, they're taking all it away.
Todd Bubba Horwitz joins us today. He is a chief strategist of BubbaTrading.com. So good to see you, Bubba. Thank you for being on my show.
David, it's my pleasure and congratulations. I know the show is great and I've seen it and I've watched, so it's great to see you again.
Thank you. Good to see you as well. You are an expert on all the things I'm about to ask you today. I thought perfect time to bring on Bubba on my new show. A lot is going on. I want to talk about the Trump episode, the saga, because we can't ignore it, even as market participants. You know, from an investor standpoint, politics aside, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking this is really unprecedented. What they're doing or what's happening right now with a past president, never mind a sitting president, but a past president. To my knowledge, this kind of thing has never happened before. We talk about political stability being an important aspect of investing. Walk us through what this means for stability in America in the political landscape.
Well, America has really lost its overall stability in politics to begin with. You know, we have with the new administration who is totally dismantling the United States of America $1 at a time and one bit at a time, about giving up our natural resources and not drilling for oil. And of course, they've attacked Trump for 8 years. I mean, they've tried him before that, but once he decided to run for office in 2015, they have not let up. And you have to ask yourself a question, whether you like Trump or not. I believe, in my opinion, he was the best president in my 65 years on this earth. Again, do I want to run again? Not really. First of all, I don't want a one-term president. Second of all, we know that he has trouble keeping his mouth shut, which is why they lost the Senate last time and probably why he lost the last time, because there's so many strong emotions. But the unprecedented of going after this guy for 8 years, never in history have we seen a president attacked like this, let alone arrested 2 years out of office and 2 years before the next election, which he wants to run for. And I think that if he does beat this, and I think that he will, I think he will have a good chance to win again, which would really not be my preference unless he is running with DeSantis as his running mate.
So there's 34 felony criminal charges against Trump right now. And I was reading that if he were to be convicted of all 34, which is highly unlikely, but suppose, then he's looking at 136 years in prison. Now, even if he were just to be convicted of one, say the charge that with the allegation that he falsified business records, that's a Class E felony in the state of New York, which carries a maximum prison sentence of 4 years. So he's looking at potential prison sentence. We're not even talking about running for election again. I mean, if Trump loses any number of these cases, he could go to jail, right? But you're saying that he's going to win. Why?
Well, first of all, I think Donald Trump is a smart enough guy to know, and he's got enough shields and enough information behind him before he made any of these decisions. I don't think Donald Trump directly goes out and breaks the law. You know, you could compare him to the gangsters in the world. You know, how do they get the gangsters? They always get them on income tax evasion. Well, he's made it very clear on his income tax, for example, that if you wanted to pay more taxes, fix the tax code. I don't think he breaks the law. I think he has bent the law in quite a few cases, but I don't think he's broken the law. And I think that we're going to find out that this is nothing more than a witch hunt. And I would lay a lot of money that he is not going to jail and that he is not going to end up being charged when this is all said and done.
Okay, so people are saying that this is going to boost his chances of re-election, or at least winning the Republican nomination. Walk us through that logic.
Well, you know, that's an opinion, right? I think the actual Republican Party itself does not want Donald Trump, which is why they're standing mute, which is why he hasn't talked to Mitch McConnell since 2020, which is why Mitch McConnell has been behind a lot of these things that are going on. Okay.
So generally speaking, does this have any market implications?
Zero.
Okay.
No effect. Right now, politics has very little effect on markets until it comes down to money.
What does have, I guess, impact in the markets is Fed policy, and they've been
under policy will definitely affect the markets. The interest rate market, right now, I think the markets are trying to assume that the Fed is done hiking, and I think that is incorrect.
You think that's incorrect. Actually, I want to ask you because according to the CME FedWatch tool, today, I mean, it changes by the hour, but as of Wednesday midday, 61.5% chance of no hike in May and 38% chance of one hike, 25 basis point hike. Some people, select few, have said that there may be a surprise pivot, meaning a rate cut by the next meeting. Where do you stand?
Well, I think that's what the markets are trying to base and pricing in right now, which was one of the reasons for the rally that we've seen until the last couple of days. Look, this inflation problem, which is their excuse to hike rates, is not going away. In fact, it's going to get worse. When Saudi Arabia came out and cut production, through OPEC, the gangsters and criminals of OPEC cut production, and that, of course, forced prices dramatically higher. Oil's up 7%. I think they're going to make one more cut before we get into our driving season here, and you're going to see crude oil back over 100. The Fed is going to be forced, because they made the wrong decision in the first place, to start hiking to try to slow inflation instead of doing the right thing and saying to the government, use your own natural resources and we can bring inflation back under control and people can actually earn more money than they're spending, right? Because right now, income is much lower than the cost of living.
Do you agree with the theory that the interest rate needs to go above the inflation rate before the inflation rate comes down for good?
Well, again, I don't think that they're necessarily truly related. There's two types of inflation. There is good inflation, which is driven by supply and demand, and then there's the inflation that's caused by government, which becomes taxation without representation. I believe in 1776 we went to war for that. Okay, so I think there's a difference. If it's good inflation, then it doesn't really matter because everybody's making enough money to overcome that inflation. This inflation we should not be in this position because we could have saved ourselves a long time ago by not stopping the production of oil and still being a net exporter, because we use 80% of every product you use is involved with fossil fuels. So you can't get away from using oil until you have a better way, and there is no better way yet.
There is no better way yet, but let's come back to that. I mean, yes, some people argue that electric vehicles and battery metals may be the next oil of the future, right? Lithium could be replacing oil in its utility. Do you agree with that?
I have no problem with that, David, but right now, you buy an electric car, they tell you to charge it overnight because the power grid won't support it during the day. Again, you have to fix everything before you can get to that place of electric vehicles. You have to fix your power grid. This country has too many times not done the right thing. In New Orleans, Katrina, that should have never happened as bad as it was. They were told to fix the levees. They said they chose not to. Well, look what happens. The Colonial Pipeline was a problem. What did Joe Biden say? It's a private company, not our problem. Well, you don't think that they can hack into our power grid as well? You don't think some of these issues are outside interference? Fix the power grid, give us a plan, and tell us how we're going to get to where you want to get to, and then it's great.
Mm-hmm. All right. So how do you think that the electrification movement is going to impact investment themes going forward? Will it have any impact at all?
Well, I mean, sure, it'll have an impact. It'll have an impact on all oil companies. It'll have an effect on everything. But we're so far away from that is still, in my opinion, a pipe dream. Okay, you can get all the guarantees. California by 2035, there'll be no more lawnmowers. Okay, I say BS. Okay, I don't buy anything until they can prove the fact that they can actually function with those products. They've already proved that wind turbines do nothing. They do not create enough energy for anybody. We cannot get to electric energy yet because we don't have a power grid that works. So there are so many issues other than in very small instances that we're not even near that part. Okay. So again, will it affect the market? Yeah, but not tomorrow.
Let's come back to the Fed and the markets, and we'll touch on gold and stocks. Okay, I want to talk about the idea of this Fed pivot sooner rather than later. Here's my view, and feel free to disagree and challenge me if you like. But I think that we're not going to get a pivot or a cut anytime soon, and that's because, first of all, I don't think this banking crisis is going to be systemic like in 2008, and even if it does, the Treasury is going to bail them out, not the Fed. Second, the Fed needs to look at unemployment and the inflation rate. So what needs to happen for the Fed to cut interest rates by the summer? and employment will need to skyrocket, and inflation will need to come back down to like near 2%, which is not going to happen in 3 months. What's your view?
Well, I listen. I can argue with the whole point. First of all, they have to continue to hike. The banks are in much bigger trouble than they were in '08. Okay, this is going to be a major problem, and the Treasury is not bailing them out. The American taxpayer will bail out the banks, which is another crock. All right, there's no reason that me as a taxpayer should have to pay for a bad business model of a bank that's allowed to lend on fractional banking 10-to-1 on their assets supposedly held, when they can borrow money from the Fed, turn that into an asset, and then lend 10 times on a debt that they have. The whole banking system is corrupt. The whole banking system is silly, because you've got an idiot Federal Reserve that continues to bail out a failing business. If your business fails, David, are they going to bail you out? Yes, I know you're in Canada, but if you were in America, do you think they're going to bail your business out? No, but they bail out the banks. So this whole system is broken down, and mortgage rates are going to the moon. Right now, mortgage rates are over 7%. They're not stopping here. You're going to start to see a housing meltdown because people aren't going to be able to move and sell their houses. They can't get the down payment. You've got so many issues that are going to create a major catastrophe. Once again, very similar to 07, 08.
Okay. I mean, I hear you, Todd, but what is the reason for them to continue hiking rates? Inflation's already coming down.
Inflation is not coming down, David. Inflation is still going up. What? Because they reported a ridiculous number of 6.5 because they don't count food and energy. They use 4% for the number of food and energy. Now, the average American household, barring an emergency, spends a lot more than 4% on overall food and energy. And I'm telling you right now, food and energy are up 50 to 60%. So how they come up with 6.5 is a joke. And what do you think the next number is going to be with the new rise in oil right now? Suddenly. Okay. Again, these numbers are bullshit. Excuse me. I don't mean to use bad language, but they're garbage. As is the jobs number that's coming out Friday. You want a real look at the jobs number, look at the U6, not the U3, and you'll find out how many people are not working. That this 3% unemployment is ridiculous. Look at all the layoffs we're going through. Okay, McDonald's, Amazon, they're all laying off like crazy. So you can't make it. You can't tell me that the economy is in good shape, nor have we surpassed the rate of inflation. The people cannot live on what they're earning versus what they have to pay for goods and services.
Looking at historical data, whenever the unemployment rate trickles up, we tend to enter a recession. And it's true that in every single prior recession, the unemployment rate has started low and then moved up. Are you assuming that we're entering a recession soon?
I think we're in a recession already. When they changed the rules of what a recession was, all right, 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP, they decided to change that rule about 8 months ago. Okay, so I think we're in a recession now. People aren't working. You can't go to a restaurant. There's no service. Half the drive-through restaurants, half the fast food places can't open their dining room because they can't get help. Okay, there's no help to be had. It's laughable. It's cryable, actually.
All right, well, let's talk about the markets now and your outlook. Let's start with stocks first. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ both have done extraordinarly well over the last, I would say, 1 month, despite this banking crisis. It seems to me like the markets are kind of shrugging that off. Year to date, rather, the S&P 500 is up slightly. What do you make of this positive sentiment that supposedly is reflected in this market?
Well, the markets are very thin, and there's going to be always the money to flow somewhere. And if you ask me, I would think that this is being kind of held up artificially. You know, the volume is very light, so that the amount of dollars to keep the market afloat is not that much. You pick certain stocks, you can push a little bit faster. I think you're going to see a lot of outflows now. You know, you can get 3-month CDs now for almost 5%. So I think a lot of the people that are in the markets that don't want to be in are going to start taking out outflows. And we just had a recent period where people wanted their money from BlackRock. They couldn't get it. Okay, there was 4.5 billion asked for. They only approved 666 million. So, you know, there's a lot of signs that are out there. Warning signs show up. The question is, will the American people or will investors look at the warnings? And there are so many warnings in this market that I would suspect, which I've said all along, we're going down 50 to 70% when this next move starts.
And do you know well, nobody knows for sure, but what could be a trigger for this next move downward?
It'll be more banking failures. It'll be continued hiking of the Fed, of the ignorance of the Fed. It'll be the collapsing of the farming industry, which again, the pricing, you know, not being able to produce food. there's a whole bunch of things that'll go, but it'll start probably with the banks again. Okay. Because again, we've gotten the assurance that the banks are in good shape. It's like the coach on the sidelines. You're doing a great job. The owner tells him, and he fires him the next day.
Well, we've also gotten assurances that even if the banks fail, the depositors will be saved because the Treasury, Janet Yellen, has pledged to backstop this and bail out the depositors, right? Do you trust this system?
And the truth of the matter is, I would have no problem bailing out the depositors. I do have a problem bailing out the banks that then take bonuses afterwards. Okay, I have a fundamental problem with that.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so the bank shouldn't be bailed out. The American people should, but we're paying for it anyway. What does this mean for the stock market going forward? 50% to 70% crash. In the intermediate term, though, this momentum that we're seeing, do you think as a trader, you're looking at the charts, do you think that this moving average is going to continue upward?
No, I don't. I think we're probably reached the peak for now. Not only that doesn't mean we're going straight down. I think we're going to probably churn sideways for a while. I think you're coming into an interesting period, and of course we have to let these gas prices play out, because they're just hitting the street, right? So we have to let this new higher price gas play out again into the market and kind of see where we're at. Again, I don't think the real selling will start, just because I said it. Well, I think the real selling will start probably somewhere, back half of the year when some of the banks start to fail and some of the real data starts to come out that we'll be privy to, and we'll find out that we're in a lot more trouble, because when you start getting reassurances from Janet Yellen, that usually means there's a lot deeper problem underneath the surface that has not come out yet.
Okay, so we'll keep tabs on that. What about the silver and gold markets? Gold has done very well, breached above $2,000 already. Actually, it's done that twice this year, more recently yesterday, I think. And, we see that the dollar has been weak, so direct inverse correlation there. How much of the gold's performance would you say is due to solely the dollar or perhaps something else?
I think gold was, as you and I talked about in the past, I think gold's going to make a new high this year. I think there's an outside chance it can get to 2,500, maybe a little bit higher. I think there's some real serious movement there, and I think there's a big demand. And silver, I think, is going to be probably into the mid 30s. I think the banking crisis once again triggered two things. It triggered more of an interest in metals to people that didn't buy metals in the past, and it triggered a bigger interest back into the cryptocurrency world, because we've seen those also. If you go back and look at charts and look at the correlation to the banking crisis at SVB and those items, you'll see that they've all jumped since that has happened. And I think people are getting tired of the ridiculous fiat currency system, which is basically fraudulent because there's no backing of any currency. So it's just a bunch of central bankers playing monopoly money, trying to figure out who needs to reduce the value of their currency first so they can do something else, which makes no sense, because if a lower dollar means you can export more, aren't you dropping the price anyways because your dollar's worth less?
Right. I want to ask you about the dollar, and then we'll come back to gold and silver. People have been talking about the de-dollarization trend that's been happening. I guess it's a long-term trend. Are you concerned about the dollar completely losing its value over the next few years, foreseeable future in your lifetime?
I'm not worried about losing all its value. I'm not worried about not being the reserve currency. My concern is the digital currency that I believe has a chance to become a world reserve currency. Okay. This is, what the euro did, right? When they came in the Eurozone, they put all the Deutschmark and all the currencies together. I think that you can see that with the digital currency, and that would be a concern. Again, eventually we're going to have to give up our paper money, which again, then gives up your entire life and all your privacy to go along with it. Okay.
Are you talking about CBDCs? Is that what you're referring to?
Yep.
Okay. And that's, they've already introduced Fed now, and I guess that's the next step everyone's working on. I think there's more than 100 countries around the world working on it. What does that mean? Okay, so you're concerned about what exactly? Which aspect of the CBDC?
Once you go digital, your freedom is gone. They've already stolen enough of my freedom. Okay, I'm tired of giving up my freedom and giving away what they want to take away from me. You go digital, there's no more privacy. I can't go to the casino and lose whatever I want to lose without them knowing what I'm doing. Okay. I don't want everybody to know what I do every minute of every day. And when you go digital, they know what you're doing every minute of every day. Do you want that kind of digital footprint?
I guess not, but one could argue we already have that. Your phone data is being stored. Your internet browsing data is being stored. I guess the question is,
they're taking. So now if they take my money, okay, now they've got everything. Okay, I can't do anything. Listen, I don't have to take my phone where I go. I can leave my phone at home. I could care less, right? I don't have to go onto my internet browser. But if I want to go do something that I want to do without anybody knowing, I can't do it once I go digital. My freedom is over. Your life is over. It's the end of an era of freedom, capitalism, and moving forward. Okay, it takes away everything once you go to that digital world.
I guess the question is why? Why are the governments around the world doing? And again, it's not just one country. It's a lot of
control.
Basically every country.
Control. Listen. You're going to be controlled by government. Government was never meant to be this big, right? And if you look at the United States Constitution, government is supposed to be run city, county, state, and the Federal Reserve is supposed to be an overseer. It was never intended to be the biggest employer in the world. Government wants to control your life, okay? Which is why I would be willing to bet, maybe not in my lifetime, but soon after, there's going to be another revolution in this country for sure, because people aren't going to take this anymore. This is getting well out of hand when you strip people of their capital, you strip them of their money, you strip them of their opportunity to become true capitalists, to be the next Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. Okay, they're taking all it away. Okay, you have now is big companies. They've destroyed all the little guys already.
Let's assume you're right. There's going to be a revolution in capital, in our political system. What are people going to do? I'm going to bring your attention to this chart. I guess it's not completely related to CBDCs, but people are withdrawing their money from banks. Deposits, all commercial banks. If you look at the data, the annual percentage change from last year is like -3, right? This has never really happened before. And people are taking money out of banks. The net deposits is negative, which means people are withdrawing. Where are they going? Where would you go if you had to take your money out of a bank? You don't trust the system?
To gold, silver, platinum, and cryptocurrencies, and maybe real estate. Okay, real estate probably not so much anymore because they can't afford the juice, the interest payment. Gold, silver, platinum, cryptocurrencies. Take a look.
Is that also the long-term trend? Suppose a lot of people think like you in the U.S. and they're fed up of your freedom getting stripped away and they don't trust CBDCs and the government. They're going to take their money out of the system. Where are they going to go?
That's where they're going to go. They're going to go to gold, silver, platinum, and cryptocurrencies. I don't think there's no place else to go unless and real estate. I mean, again, any hard asset that you have control of, that's where you're going to go. Now,
you were telling me offline.
Go ahead.
You were telling me offline. I think some states are re-legislating that
Texas is trying to get gold and silver back
legal.
as a
Yeah.
currency.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes. And again, that'll get a lot of flack from the federal government because, of course, God forbid we would have an actual real asset that couldn't be manipulated by the Federal Reserve or by the government.
All right, so gold's going to go to possibly $2,500 this year. So I'm assuming you think hard assets like gold are going to be a better performer than stocks this year.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think it dramatically so because I think they're going to be higher, and I think that the stock markets are going to be lower.
Okay, and how do you feel about consumer staple stocks? Like, I was doing some reading and analysis of my own. Walmart has beaten every single recession in the last 40 years since the 80s. Performance speaks for itself. Would you park money in like staples right now?
As long as I'm an American, which I will always be, I'm going to always invest in America, no matter how bitter I am about what's going on with this administration. Because again, we get a new election in a couple of years, we can turn some of the things back over again. I believe in any good company that you think is going to be in business for the next 20 years. Okay. I think it's worth investing in if you feel it's a value play for you. Walmart, Apple, any one of those companies, because again, for 200 years, the stock market's gone up an average of 8.5% year over year, and since 1950, it's going to an average of 10% year over year. So I don't expect those metrics to change. Once those change, then we all become enslaved into the government clutches with no freedom at all.
Fair enough. I'll just end on this note. So long-term investment themes for the stock markets. What is the theme you see rising? Is it AI? Is it high tech? Is it online stores? What would it be?
I think obviously AI is very big, but I think in my view, I don't want to necessarily put too much money into what may be work in the future because I don't know if I can pick the right company. But I know that if I invest in Apple today, that's the right company. I know if I've invested in Microsoft today, that's a pretty good company. If I know I can go to Walmart, that's a good company. So they make money now. I don't want to be, not that I wouldn't take little bits of money and put it into some of these other offshoots. But again, if we go back to the 90s, and all the internet companies, how many, 99% of them failed before they got there. So there's a lot of come out there. Which one do you pick? My first rule of thumb in an investment, the company's got to make money. If they don't make money, I won't even look at them for an investment.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Todd, I appreciate your outlook and your candor. Thank you for giving us your views today. Appreciate it.
David, great show, and good luck to you. And I hope you're around longer than me. 45 years. I hope you're in this broadcasting. I'll be dead by then, but I hope you'll be around.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and hope to speak to you again soon.
Thanks.
Good luck with your trades for now, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.